one thing is people really need to know their family histories. And a lot of the times people get in here and I start asking them questions and they say, I've actually never asked my parents about my family history. Or not until I had this appointment and started asking did I realize we had cancer in every generation. It's not always. Has your doctor told you very much about what to expect today or why you're sent to see me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
You just told me I had Lynch syndrome.
Okay.
And
Maybe
you guys are going to try to figure out, I guess, what strand or, what mutation I have. And it's supposed to help with my treatment as well as, help with my son or whoever else in my family.
Exactly. So anytime we see someone diagnosed with cancer at an early age who has cancer and has a family history of cancer, it makes us wonder if there could be something genetic or something running in the family that explains it. And so what I'll do is go through your medical history and family history and then talk through any red flags I see that make me think Lynch syndrome might be the explanation, and then talk through the kind of information genetic testing can help with. And you've touched on a lot of it. How could this affect your immediate treatment? How could this affect how you're managed in the long term? And then how could this affect family members if Lynch syndrome is what's going on? And when we do genetic testing, Lynch syndrome is definitely at the top of my list too, but we can also cast a wider net and also look at some other genes linked with an early reason for colon cancer, just to make sure we don't have blinders on. And we'll get into the family history next. In genetics, we draw these family trees called pedigrees. They're basically family trees with medical information added. How many brothers and sisters do you have? And the smallest category of cancer is hereditary cancer, where someone is born with a genetic condition that predisposes them to certain types of cancer and at earlier ages. So when I order genetic testing, that's the type of cancer I'm looking for. So I don't see all these things in your family, but just your age of diagnosis, what your tumor testing, the way it looked, and the fact that you do have some colon polyps and cancer in the family, it makes sense to test for this condition. How'd you feel about high school biology?
I'm fine with it.
We're going back. So bodies are made up of billions of cells, and whether you look at a colon cell or a blood cell, same genetic information. So that's why we'll get your blood drawn today, and we can look at any genes we need to using that sample. And your genetic information is basically just your body's instructions. So everybody thinks about our genes as being important for things like hair color and eye color, and that's true, but some of our genes have really important roles in protecting us from cancer. These are called tumor suppressor genes or repair genes. So if you think every time your cells grow and divide, they have to copy the genetic information, and errors can happen. And we have some good genes that are supposed to repair those errors. If one of those good genes isn't working, then cancer is more likely to happen. So when we test for Lynch syndrome or we test for other genetic conditions linked with cancer, we're actually looking at good genes and seeing if they're working. We're not looking to see if you have some bad cancer gene that someone else doesn't have. And that's a common misconception. People often think we're looking for some gene in you that wouldn't be in somebody else. And if any one of these genes isn't working, somebody has Lynch syndrome. So our goal for if we were to find someone had something like this is to figure out how can we find this type of cancer in them earlier when it's easier to treat, or in some cases, how can we prevent that cancer? So for instance, people in the family with Lynch syndrome, they can do colon cancers at early ages and more often so that we can remove a polyp before it develops into cancer. So we usually would start those in the 20s and do them every 1 to 2 years. It also matters for you because people with Lynch syndrome, if you were to be confirmed to have that, they may actually go on to develop another colon cancer. So rather than just following you closely for, say, 5 years, you may always need more frequent colonoscopies if you were to be confirmed to have this. This is important for women in the family, too, because if they were to be found to have this, then they'd be at higher risk for uterine and ovarian cancer. There are certain signs and symptoms they can look out for uterine cancer and talk to their doctor about, and then they could eventually consider hysterectomy and ovary removal to try to prevent those cancers. So a lot of people say, why would I want genetic testing if it's just going to tell me if I'm at higher risk for cancer? Who would want to know that? And the reason is, if we know someone's at higher risk, we could potentially do something about it. And so, then, of course, the way genes work, and you touched on it, most of our genes, you get one copy from mom, you get one copy from dad, everything in pairs. And for most genetic conditions linked with cancer, you only have to have one of the copies with a pathogenic variant or mutation in it to have that genetic condition like Lynch syndrome, even if the copy from your other parent works fine. If you have this, you most likely got it from a parent, and wouldn't know if it was from your mom or from your dad. So we could offer them testing, and if it came from your mom, that's of course important for her, but also tells us that your full sister, your half brother, her relatives are at risk. Versus if it came from your dad, your half siblings on that side and that side of the family is at risk. So it's sort of a ripple effect. Let's say you test positive and then your sister tests negative. Then she's at average risk for cancer, and then we wouldn't recommend testing for her son because she can't pass something she doesn't have. But you need to get better at making sure we identify people that need testing.
So what are ways?
So one thing is people really need to know their family histories. And a lot of the times people get in here and I start asking them questions and they say, I've actually never asked my parents about my family history. Or not until I had this appointment and started asking did I realize we had cancer in every generation. It's not always once you know that, bring that information to your doctor, that's when they say, hey, wait, there's more cancer than we would expect to see by chance, or these cancers are at early ages.
Because this is really important, and it's not just you. And I don't know what they touch on in medical school, but there's a lot of doctors that probably don't even think about it. And
or
so
they're busy and they just
like perfect example for me for colon cancer. My grandmother died from colon cancer. My mom's had polyps since she was 20 something. So it should kind of be a red flag. And so most doctors I talk to say, we'll start screening you at 40.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're aware of Lynch syndrome. And there's a lot of people that weren't aware of Lynch syndrome. And so that screening can go as early as 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then
even
the medical field, because it's new.
Yeah.
So you went to medical school 20 years ago, Lynch syndrome is only about 15, 16 years old, right?
It's also one of the more well-known ones. You also have to wonder, what about the ones we haven't known about? They're even more likely to miss.
And like that list that I saw that you showed me, I hadn't seen that before.
Haven't heard of it.
I never heard anything about it.
We need better, it's just genomic literacy as a population. So that's another thing I think that will help people be more aware.
That's what I'm actually trying to work on, is just educating people. I mean, I know we have tons of ways on social media, and people are more aware, and just educating people.